And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that will not send troops to police your city without congressional authorization.
Yes, that's right. We are doctors.
But not doctors.
And we are here this week. It's again, no week is ever the same, and very few weeks in politics in both the UK and the US are fun or anything that can let you unclench your butt for any particular reason.
I think it's fair to say, Chris, that the last week has been, just one of the longer decades that I've experienced in my life. So
let me put it to you like this: when the most normal thing you hear about in the week is the African tribe that was squatting in Scotland, you know how crazy the week has been.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, this is new to me. Can you tell me all the details here, Chris?
I can tell you most of the details. So this person and the people decided to go into the forests of the Scottish borders, which is the border between Scotland and England.
Like you do.
Yeah. And they set up a camp. And then they declared themselves an independent nation within like this wooded area. Apparently, these people seduced, coerced, got a girl, like a young woman, like not of young age, but she's like in her 18, 19, 20, like a law student or pre-law, who knows, to get her from Texas and flew her into the United Kingdom, where she worked as their handmaiden.
What?
It's all in Sky, and she wound up living there in the woods with these people for I don't know how long, but just like today, and we're recording this on the 2nd of October. Happy October, everybody! They kept on getting moved to like different pieces of wooded land because there's a thing called like right to roam in the UK and in England, all over the UK. So you can kind of just walk anywhere, and as long as you leave, as
exactly. If you're not like causing damage and whatnot, then like Although I do think right to roam, I think that's just in England and Wales. I don't know whether that extends to Scottish law as well.
Neither do I. I'm aware of it in England and Wales. I'm not entirely sure how it works in Scotland. I can't remember right now. I've only heard it in passing because I have not been one of those who roams through the countryside for days at a time. I'm not that kind of YouTuber. So anyways, this person, these people basically, it's like a cult, but a cult of 3 people. And Sky News went out there basically to expose them for who they are. And the police finally shut down the camp. And we're talking about 3 people here. And the mom in America was, completely beside herself. She's like, you can't.
My daughter ran off to join a cult in Scotland.
An African tribe that's based in Scotland. And the person, and they're like, this is our land. This land was taken from us. And you're like, there's a lot to unpack there.
That is outstanding, Chris. You know what that is? Maybe they heard that Idi Amin referred to himself as the last king of Scotland.
And they
took that very literally. And decided to sort of run with that. So, I am encouraged by their ambition and their get up and goism, Chris. I think that this is,
We'll see how this little group gets on. Apparently, he had more. He had more women flying in for some reason, but I don't know where they're going to go now because they can't go out to his camp in the woods. And I'm thinking to myself, how much longer could they have done it? I mean, it's already getting pretty cold at night in Scotland, and I'm basically living in a tent on
Scotland.
Yeah,
you're going to live in the woods in Scotland.
Yeah,
like I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you're the kind of person who, is going to have a 3-person cult. Get more cultists. Yeah. Step 1, you're never going to get rich with only 2 cultists to your name.
Yeah. You haven't reached critical mass there at all.
Exactly. Right. And, I get that he's trying to snowball, with law students from Texas, and I respect that. But now I just think he jumped the gun. On the,
Yet here we are. But he had enough money apparently to fly this person over from Texas. Anyway, so that's the normal part. And then we shift from that to the actual news. And before we even got on the air today, or I'll say it like that, there was an attack on a synagogue in Manchester, which we should cover briefly, even though the details are pretty nebulous right now.
Right. We don't seem to know a huge amount at the moment. We do know that two victims at the synagogue were killed. The attacker was shot dead by the police. But at the moment, at least as of this recording, there doesn't seem to have been a release of official information on the identity of the attacker or his motivations.
No, there are pictures out there, but we don't know. We don't know that much. And, at this point, it's best not to speculate upon anything, except for that this is, again, this is a sad and also it's a sad and very notable attack because today is Yom Kippur.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is kind of the day of penitence and atonement. And I think, don't quote me. Yeah, sorry, I know this. You fast for Yom Kippur to sunrise to sunset. And it's a very important, if not, I think the most important holiday. In the Jewish calendar.
One of the two high holy days, right?
It is one of the two high holy days. And so to do it today is notable. And no matter who launched this attack, they didn't do themselves any favors. They didn't do any side any favors. It's not America, so I think we can probably rule out groypers.
That's true. That's true. Probably not someone thoroughly internet poisoned.
Yeah.
We don't seem to have that in Britain. Thank God.
It's harder to get a gun here. It's not impossible to get a gun in the United Kingdom. It's not unheard of for there to be gun violence, but it's just at a significantly, hyper significantly less than the United States. But they did say that apparently the person may have had a bomb attached to them as well. As probably by the time we end this podcast, there'll be more out there, but we don't know much. So we just want to take note that this has happened. We'll probably have to talk about it again next week as as
more details come in. Yeah. And as it's clearer why this happened and what this means, basically.
Yeah. If it means anything. Because nihilist attacks do happen, especially potentially in America. So that's what's been happening literally today. Over the past week, though, did you happen to catch the Labour Party conference, Patrick?
Apparently, it's been going on, and I will admit I have been focusing on other things. I got a job, man. I got work. So I have not been watching the Labour Party conference. Do
you not get the £300,000 checks that I do for doing this?
Oh, no. I didn't follow the link when George Soros sent out the link. I let it lapse, and I've been too embarrassed to write him back and say, George, can I get that link again?
I'll send you the QR code. I mean,
that's really kind of you. Thank
you. It only lasts for 30 days, so don't dawdle. Right. I mean, it's just £300,000. I mean, it's not enough really to get somebody off the ground.
Well, that's true, I guess. And so, but we'll try to put it up in the comments section. And if you don't find it there, then clearly it's an indication of a vast left-wing conspiracy.
Vast left-wing. If you can't see the QR code, it's because they don't want you to see it.
That's exactly right, Chris. Yeah.
Right. So we just, or are we? And so I think I also didn't catch a lot of the Labour Party conference because I unpacking from my new house and also doing other things. But I am aware. I think the biggest thing to come out of it so far is Keir Starmer's speech, where he it's really the start of Keir Starmer's fight back against reform, as we talked about last week. Reform. If things go their way, will either be close to or have enough seats to become the next UK government, which, if you're not a fan of reform, this should send alarm bells ringing from, as loud as they could possibly be. As we discussed last week, once you're in government in the United Kingdom, there's very little anyone can do to kind of slow you down or stop you from doing anything that you wanted to do, which, you could say, they're going to take out the small boats. Yeah, they could have a go at your rights as well. So
that is true.
It all depends on what's in their manifesto. And I was thinking, who even reads the manifesto, right?
I mean, I feel like we're somewhat at a disadvantage here, right? Because in America, our parties are so incredibly diluted. Party structures have such little power, and political conventions are literally just coronations, really. They're there's not much in the way of, it didn't used to be that. Back in the United States 100 years ago, party conferences is where everything would be decided at a policy level. And that hasn't been the case for just decades and decades. I feel like in Britain, there is a stronger sense of like manifestos mean things. And not just constitutionally, but also like I think politically and in terms of, not everyone or even a majority of voters, but a good solid minority of voters do pay attention to manifestos, pay attention to conventions. And so,
but I don't think a majority of voters are going to be reading every page of a manifesto. They're just going to be waiting to see what pops up on television as a newscaster or somebody on YouTube or somebody on Twitter or whatever gives you the top points. And
exactly.
And we'll get back to the conference in a second. But what I always note is that the constitutional reform sections of manifestos are always at the back.
Do you think that's on purpose, Chris?
I think it is on purpose because nobody wants to talk about it. But I'm like, this is some serious stuff. Like Labor's was at the back. I from memory, I believe Labor's was at the back because I immediately turned to the back page and see what people aren't going to make it halfway through this thing. Anyway, so Labor is trying to address this obvious threat from reform, and in doing so, Keir Starmer decided to address Nigel Farage's and Reform's kind of biggest policy to date, which is to eliminate indefinite leave to remain for everyone in the United Kingdom, get rid of UK green cards, which we discussed in our mini episode, which is up now.
Exactly. And you can watch that and give us more likes. Feed the algorithm, people. It's a hungry beast.
Feed the algorithm. Do us a favor and feed the algorithm. But he basically said that Nigel Farage doesn't like or believe in Britain. He says there was a choice between renewal and decline, and basically he's called the ILR policy racist. Right. Which is
would that be
he's called the policy racist. We need to be clear that he's called the policy racist.
Right. Exactly. The idea of getting rid of ILR. Now, Chris, would you say that he called the claimed policy to eliminate indefinite leave to remain racist because it is racist?
Yeah, the policy is pretty racist because
I feel like there's some truth there. Like that is not an entirely out of its sentiments, in my opinion.
No, I don't think that he would be wrong in saying that the policy is racist, but it's exactly what the far right and fascists need because they have identified the problem, and the problem are brown immigration. They don't say it explicitly; they just say immigrants who don't have our culture,
right?
And small boats, things like that. They're not talking about Swedes, and they're not talking about the French, and they're not talking about Germans. And then they say all these like just underneath the level of atrocious and it is for any analysis a racist policy, but as soon as you say it is, then you can clutch your pearls as the fascist saying, oh, that's not what I meant. And how dare you? We're supposed to be a country of words, and we shouldn't be using mean words when we talk about
because it encourages violence if you accurately describe my actions, which in no way should you analyze what that implies about the nature of my actions, by the way, because that would just encourage violence. So
it's not even encourage violence, just lowers the tone, or
as the Daily Mail put it.
As the Daily Mail put it, the day Labor dragged politics into the gutter.
The Daily Mail is clutching its pearls about political rhetoric. Weren't these the guys who declared that British judges were the enemies of the people, Chris?
Yeah, they had the 3 judges on the front page.
Identifying so that, their readers could I don't know, go try to murder them or something like that.
I don't know. See, there it is. Now, they would say, I'm not trying to get these people murdered. I am just telling you who they are because they are enemies of the people. And you are the people. Yes. And they're your enemy.
I'm just identifying your enemies and putting their faces up on our, nationally read tabloid. If some of our readers happen to be insane with access to weapons, who are we to judge, I guess?
And I'm not the lawyer, but is that a defensible argument? I think it is. I think there's a reason that it's done like this. There isn't a reason why they don't have their headline, "Go kill these 3 people."
Well, because that would be very much illegal. That would actually be an incitement to violence.
Like but what I'm saying is that, like this is the question I have, right? So Labor, right? They have, and it's not just Labor. S&P, who I work for in Westminster, have been on this side of the debate in Scotland for quite a while now. But Labor have been like hemming and hawing because they've been trying to get that right wing vote.
Right.
Like, does this work? Does it matter to declare these people or these policies racist and immoral? That's also what he said. And then because the next thing you do, if you're the opposition to that, is say, you've now called every single person who cares about this an immoral racist. Remember deplorables?
Yes, I do, actually. Yeah. And I remember the absolute storm that incredibly mild criticism, like deplorable, is such it's like an antique word, Yeah. It's like groceries, Chris. Who even says groceries these days?
I do. I say it all the time.
I mean, that's true, actually. I am mocking Donald Trump and therefore muddying my own points while talking about, deplorables as being like I don't know. It's just milquetoast weak sauce language. And yet it was treated for years as if it was like the most outstandingly awful thing that you could say about it.
It's like a racial slur. I mean, like,
right, exactly. And you're right. That's exactly how the right wing is going to treat this. I will, if I'm going to argue the other side, I will simply say that, like, if we let the right wing decide what is and is not allowed speech, then we've already surrendered the field to the fascists. And if we cannot call a spade, even in incredibly obvious scenarios, we're just going to get tied up in language for the rest of our lives, basically. I do think that this is one of the ways in which the right wing has been able to gain such cultural power by, on the one hand, sort of claiming that they have the right to say racist, anti-Semitic, and deeply offensive things, and that's freedom of speech. But if anyone ever criticizes them for that, then that is completely outside the bounds of propriety and a horror show. Now, I think that's more descriptive of the right wing in the United States than it is necessarily of the right wing in Britain. But at the same time, if we cannot discuss the obvious implications of a policy to strip away indefinite leave to remain from people who have lived in this country for decades.
And they've done nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong. Exactly. And you've earned it, and you've paid thousands of pounds. And something that we missed in the mini episode, there's now an NHS surcharge, which wasn't around when I moved here. So every person who comes into the country and gets a visa has to then pay a massive amount of money for the NHS surcharge, because you don't want to be a burden on the NHS. From full knowledge that some of those people will be coming to work for the NHS.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And also, don't forget, are paying taxes.
And are paying
support the NHS.
They'll be paying national insurance tax.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, So it's just an excuse, basically, to sort of like try to pin all of society's problems on immigrants, because the right wing has nothing else to offer. They will not offer any solutions to problems. J.D. Vance, for example, right? In his various lies he's been telling about why the government has shut down in America, right?
Which we will get to later. We'll get to
we'll get to. I'm just bringing this up because what he's been claiming is that the reason why you're having trouble seeing your doctor is because of all the immigrants coming in and taking up all of the Medicaid money that they're not legally entitled to and don't get as a result of that fact. But so it's just the immediate defaulting to any problem you have must be the result of immigrants. Because just because like any actual solution to real problems with wait times at your doctors, what have you, would involve spending more money so there's more doctors.
I recall that argument being made as well in the United Kingdom during Brexit, and it was made by one Nigel Farage.
Funny.
Like the Leave campaign was basically like you are waiting forever for a doctor because there is a foreigner who's there, and I have to find. I wonder if I saved it, but there was this ad. I'm sure I talked about it before, and it was on YouTube, and it was from like the Leave campaign, and it was two old women and like their, we assume their daughter or something, right? And I'm sorry, it's the same person. It's okay. A daughter and a mother, and the mother is, a pensioner, and they're both going into the same medical facility, and it splits, and it says inside the EU, outside the EU, and the inside the EU portion, which the UK was at the time, the entire place was filled with not all brown people, but people who weren't white. And then this person and like, this lady was waiting there, and she was coughing, and she was, cold, and she was, just a little old lady, and she was just, rubbing her hands together, and her daughter's like, oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Doctor comes out, and he takes this healthy looking dude in before her, and you just look at her.
Yes, obviously.
And then, the look on her face is, one of like the Native American from those commercials from the 70s. With a tear coming down her face. And then you cut over to outside the EU. The entire place is like, it's basically empty. She's immediately helped. As soon as she walks in, they take it by the hand. And they said, outside of the EU, this is going to be the system. Now, that was a lie, obviously.
Oh, yeah, that didn't happen at all, did it, Chris?
No, not even close.
It's been almost 10 years, and that hasn't happened.
Yeah, so, but it's the exact same argument. It's the exact same playbook. So, and the other thing I want to talk about when it comes to like, how do you how does Keir Starmer take it on? Does this work? It works only if the papers play ball. There's a reason why the United Kingdom is terrified. Why the United States and France and the Netherlands and Denmark and Italy are all afraid, and increasingly Portugal are all afraid of immigration, and that's because the front pages of all the newspapers, the television stations, all of it is they are coming.
Yeah,
that's it. And you don't know who they are. So in the United Kingdom, the implication is that every single one of these is a 6'4" glistening Adonis who already has a job in their home country, and they're just here to rape and pillage.
Obviously.
Now, note, Nigel Farage wouldn't say it exactly like that, but he'd say they are coming, and we are going to stop them. And furthermore, we're going to kick out a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer having to fight that also needs the agreement of a couple of papers to say to start to change the focus away from this dog whistling to facts, and nobody likes facts. Facts are boring.
Yeah, of course. And so no, we're in a vibe based society now, Chris, where evidence that's for losers, punks. Instead, now we just sort of put our finger in the wind and decide what reality is at any given moment. I mean, I don't know when the hell we decided that when and it's not like, I'm not saying like normal everyday people should constantly be reading scientific papers to assess the best evidence. But I do think over the last 20 years, there's been a big shift in sort of the elites of society in America and in Britain and probably other countries as well, towards the idea that, well, the facts say one thing, but people seem to think another thing. And honestly, who are we to choose between? So like during the 2024 presidential campaign, right, you had this massive split between all the economic indicators were coming in of low unemployment, of decreasing inflation.
Was this in the UK or the US?
This in the US, right?
All right, okay.
So of strong economic growth, where things were clearly improving. And you had polling that consistently showed that majorities of Americans said that things are getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is that when asked about their own economic circumstances, the vast majority said they were getting better.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you've got people experiencing their lives getting better, but convinced that everywhere else things are getting worse. And I think the reason is because the narrative that gets set by the media, that gets set by politicians, that gets set by, influencers and what have you, you get way more clicks by saying everything is collapsing.
I think it's more insidious than that. And it's been going on for at least 25 years, if not more. Now, obviously, this is a very long, in the States, it's a long-term policy from the right wing. In the UK, there was a much stronger convention of not, explicitly lying, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody was held to a slightly higher degree because I don't know, the Queen, I don't know, but
but people maybe they just had a vestigial sense of, if you let these bastards openly lie to us, then we have no respect for ourselves, because that's
yeah. I think
don't
that's
liars.
Yeah, that's it. Don't trust liars. And call them out as soon as you see them. And you're right that we've moved away from kind of fact-based journalism. We've moved away from 60 Minutes and Nightline, and these are all in America. But we've moved away from these deeply investigative ideas to make sure that the right information was getting out, to the most entertaining information is getting out. So there's a reason people watch Fox News, and it's not because they like the news. It's because it's like watching the WWF or WWE. People like watching spectacle. They had an MMA thing at the White House, I believe. They had Charlie Kirk's memorial. That thing was a spectacle. It wasn't. There were pyrotechnics,
which is not. I got to tell you, Chris. Like, if I drop dead in the foreseeable future and you were in charge of my funeral for some reason, please don't do pyrotechnics. I would prefer not to have any T-shirt cannons at my funeral.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Spectacle wins, man. It gets butts and seats, and and you know what? And it's moving over here. Why? Yeah. Because the Reform Conference, which we haven't talked about, and I really wanted to, but we just haven't had the time. A few weeks ago, Reform had their conference to, again, pyrotechnics and huge sounds. And Andrew Jenkins, who is outrageously the mayor of Nottinghamshire or something like that. I'll look it up before the end of this segment so I can.
Well, someone's got to do it. So.
Yeah. And she came out to a song that she had written in 2005 called called Insomniac. And she walked out singing the song. And it wasn't to a backing track. It was to the track with her singing. So she was singing and the track was singing, and it was her at the same time. But of course, because it's, a backing, or it's a CD track.
Yeah.
She sometimes fell out of line. And so she was like singing against herself and then brought herself back in. And it was nonsense, but it was spectacle. And that's what Reform seems to like they're clearly putting all their eggs into the spectacle basket.
Right.
And well, how do the other political parties, because you can't jump on board and bring out John Cena because you can't see him anyway. But, they're trying to bring out, they can't bring out, insanity, because then they're just going to be called, not serious. But Reform and MAGA can do that because they are not serious, but they are.
Well, that's it. It's because they've defined themselves as being in opposition to the political elites, regardless of how much power they have. MAGA controls everything now. They are the establishment. And yet they've branded themselves as being anti-establishment, and they're busy promptly fucking everything up. So, you definitely can't claim that they're secretly competent at their jobs. But I think because of that, right, they get this, they have been granted license by the great and the good in both of our societies to sort of engage in this kind of absurdity and not get called out. Because I think if political leaders, if media leaders, if thought leaders, if you want to use that term, we're all like, well, this is hot nonsense. Who are these clowns?
Yeah.
And gave them not the slightest shred of dignity.
Airtime.
Because exactly. If they were to say that, I think the vast majority of people are like, oh, that's true. Actually, God, they are fucking clowns.
They're clowns.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why they haven't done that, and the reason why Labor has not found a way to deal with the threat from Reform, is that they don't have an alternative theory of the case to put forward. They don't have an alternative to offer, right? So if you're Labor and you want to win back voters in the North who have defected to Reform or may defect to Reform, right? And you're worried about the issue of immigration, the last thing you want to do is to make politics all about immigration.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that helps Reform. That's Reform's selling point, right?
Yeah.
What you want to do is to say, well, here's what we're going to offer instead. Here is our vision. And this is why it's something that you're going to want. This is why it's something that you're going to find attractive. And also, it's going to help solve that immigration problem. If you had, I think, an appeal towards, look, life is hard and getting harder. Here's how we're going to make it easier. here's how we're going to make things better.
Yeah.
Here's our plan.
Yeah.
But if you're going to...
sorry, go ahead. But that's simple. That's simple enough to do. I mean, like, you can come up with a plan. The problem is what you're clearly afraid of the backlash, but the backlash from who? P.S. Andrew Jenkins is the mayor of Greater Lincolnshire. So
Greater Lincolnshire. Okay.
But the whole point is that I think you're right. Like it's about the counter narrative, but I think it's also about the propensity of the counter narrative to make it to the public sphere. So if your counter narrative is, in lack of a better term, make lives better for people, right? It's not nearly as sexy as kicking immigrants right in the pants, because that's violence, and it's interesting, and it has nothing to do with me because I'm not one of them, right? No, I'm not saying about myself. I am an immigrant, but
as indeed am I.
Yeah. So I think that all left-wing parties need to take a chance and talk about how you're going to make people's lives better. And the hardest part, it'll be hard for labor because they're obviously terrified of the bond markets. They are afraid to raise taxes on the rich. But just raising taxes on the rich, even if it doesn't fully work, will, I guarantee you, pull back some of those poll numbers. Saying that we're going to go after the rich because the rich haven't been doing their bit. And then that's going to make the right wing lose their fucking mind.
But then the right wing is going to lose their mind and defend billionaires, which is not great ground for the right wing to be on, because people don't like billionaires.
Well, you don't think so, but
I mean, I'm trying to think of I can think of one billionaire who I think is generally an all right chap, and that's JB Pritzker.
JB.
Right. Yeah, he's an actual billionaire. And so, he is a billionaire. He seems all right. So, but it's, I don't know. I do think that, there needs to be a counter narrative, and the left-wing parties just need to accept the fact that, the media is going to kick them in the nuts again and again and again, because they're going to do that anyway. So you might as well, do something useful with your time.
But that's what social media is for, right?
Yeah.
There's no longer 3 channels. And I mean, a lot of people don't live on social media, like yourself or myself, but it's enough to get people to at least start that conversation. So why don't we take a little break here, and then we'll move across the ocean to where things are just fine. Things are just fine.
Oh God! Back after this.
And we're back.
We're back, everybody. Back to discuss our favorite topic, America.
America, the United States of, which is currently shut the fuck down.
Oh, it is. It is. Nothing's working. America's not working, people. America is not working right now.
America's not working. Yeah. I like that. Sachi write that for you.
Look, they've got an NDA. They're not going to spill the beans on that one. So,
that's fair enough. Yeah. Okay, exactly. So let's talk about first the least insane thing that's happened in America, which is Donald Trump posting a story about Medbeds on his True Social platform. Do you know what Medbeds are, Patrick?
I do now. I learned about them 2 days ago when this became a story, and I just I would say that I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked. I'd say I was surprised, but I'm not surprised. Nothing surprises me anymore, Chris.
No.
Oh, God.
I know.
Yeah. So apparently this is, okay, I'm going to tell you a story, and it's going to tie in. I swear to God. Are you ready for this?
Okay. All right. I've strapped in, buddy.
All right. So do you remember that movie that came out several years ago by Lars von Trier called Melancholia?
Melancholia with Kirsten Dunst.
With Kirsten Dunst, exactly, yeah. And so, so, and in that film, which is a film and not reality, there is a secret planet, a rogue planet that is flying through the galaxy, and it's going to pass by Earth. But it turns out, oh no, it's not going to pass by Earth. It's going to smack into Earth. So it's literally a film about the end of the world.
Yeah.
And Kirsten Dunst is in it, and she suffers from depression, but then she gains strength because the end is here, and she is not freaking out because she's already depressed. And so it's a weirdly uplifting movie about the literal end of everything. The reason I bring this up, is that maybe 6 months after I saw that film, I had a plumber in to do some work on my flat because my boiler was a piece of shit. And this boiler, while he was a technician, while he was working, started telling me, all about this, conspiracy at the highest levels of government to cover up the fact that this rogue planet flying through the universe and it's going to totally crash into us, and they're not telling us anything about it because they're trying to keep us all. Yeah, and he was literally describing to me the plot of Melancholia as if it was real, Chris.
No.
And and he was 100% convinced that they're just keeping it from us, and the world's gonna end in 6 months. And I know, and you're asking, why would I bring up this particular madness?
Yeah.
Because apparently, do you want to know where Medbeds are from?
Where are they from?
Elysium, starring Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they. Okay, hang on. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Medbeds. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, are from Star Trek, and they're from Star Wars. So they're Bacta tanks.
Bacta tank. Oh, if there's a Bacta tank, I would take a Bacta tank. I want to float around in that Bacta with a weird little mask on in my underwear, like Mark Hamill. That sounds like fun.
But I think it would just be nice and warm. It'd be fun. It's hygienic, and then there's. In Star Trek, there is Medbeds as well, but they don't do the exact same thing. Maybe, I mean, this entire concept is like the definition of science fiction, and if you're not a fan of science fiction, you might fall for it. And clearly, people have, including the President of the United States, who posted an AI video of himself, talking about Medbeds coming to the United States because they were.
Everyone's going to get a card, Chris. Every citizen will get a card.
Every citizen will get a card to use a Medbed, and it's important because the leftists and liberals have been keeping Medbed technology to themselves, and
it's all a conspiracy.
And in this AI generated Fox News bit, his daughter-in-law was doing an interview, or doing an interview with him, or she was a person hosting the piece, and the point that everybody is, kind of super, super concerned about, unless you're MAGA and unless you're Fox News, is the President of the United States reposted a AI video of himself about a fictional science fiction fucking thing that doesn't exist, and it stayed up for 12 hours. And nobody thought to say, hey, this isn't real, so maybe we should take this down. In fact, it was the opposite, where they said, just keep it up. Because it's all about memes in the presidency. Memes.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Chris, how is Donald Trump supposed to remember whether or not he gave an interview with Fox News where he talked about how Medbeds are coming? How is he supposed to know that he never did that?
To his daughter-in-law.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, so in the recent negotiations that Trump had with the Senate, with the Democratic leadership in Congress, right?
The minority leader of both the House and the Senate.
And the Senate, exactly.
Jeffries and Schumer.
And Chuck Schumer. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. They told him about some of the effects of the shutdown, and he apparently never heard of the fact that, if they don't fix the problem with, subsidies for health insurance, then premia are going to go up around the country. Apparently, that was the first thing for him. So I don't know that he's paying a lot of attention. But he also had a speech a talk on the phone with the governor of Oregon, right? Because he was threatening to send troops into Portland, I believe, right?
Continues to threaten to send troops into Portland.
So, and apparently, when she explained to him that there's no rioting going on in Portland, there are no fires in Portland, there is no disorder in Portland. Apparently, Donald Trump said to her, "Really? Because am I seeing things on TV that are not happening? Because I see on TV with the fires, and because Fox News has been running B-roll from 2020 during the George Floyd protests."
Yeah.
While they talk about Portland today. So apparently Donald Trump cannot distinguish very easily between what he sees on TV and what is real.
You see, this is why presidents get a briefing that is in writing every day, and not get all the information from a private company that has an agenda for what they want to happen in the country. But it's like, again, what he sees, he thinks is real, and no one in the room corrected him. So because it does fit, I'm sure, I'm going to rock that back. I'm sure it might fit a plan of someone who wanted to eliminate democracy in the country to start planting troops all around the country, which brings us to another thing.
Okay.
Pete Hesgeth, a friend of the pod,
Yes. Official crusader, moron, drunkard of antiquity.
And for current Secretary of Defense or War, depending on which channel you're watching, and former Fox News host, as we talked about last week, summoned all of the generals in the United States military
and admirals,
generals and admirals in the military force to Quantico, Virginia.
They had Space Force in the corner.
And they all got them into one room, which is super safe because everybody knows where they are. And he and we didn't know what he was going to talk about last week. And first we're going to have fun with it, but then in a serious thing. But first off, the speech that he gave, some people said, the speech was delivered fine because he is a television host, so he knows how to talk. But the highlights were basically, we don't want any fat people in the army anymore.
No fatties. No fatties.
No fatties. He didn't say, again, he didn't explicitly say no women, but what he did say was that everyone has to meet the standards of men. Yeah. And also, in a weird way, he said no one could have a beard anymore.
Yes.
Which is that's a weird one, because there's so many different people you attack when you say you without beards. When you say you can't have a beard, whether it be somebody, a Muslim who can't shave their, a Sikh who can't shave their beard, or a Muslim who has a beard that doesn't want to shave it.
To those with, honestly not great, chins and whatnot, you got to hide a weak chin every now and then.
People with sensitive skin that when you shave your beard, you get horrible breakouts and razor burn. And so that's one. and then he kept on pausing and giving a speech and assuming that people were going to applaud what he was going to say. Now, even I know this, and I'm not in the military, never been in the military, but these guys are supposed to be, they are the impartial arbiters of the American Constitution. They're supposed to go where they're commanded, but they're also supposed to defend the Constitution, which means they cannot show favoritism towards any particular a government or official. So they were never going to applaud. They were never going to scream out there. This isn't a rally. And so he had this big line that's now being circulated there. He's saying, the policy is that you are a war machine. You're here to break things and kill people. These are things that more or less he said. And, the policy of the U.S. military will now be F-A-F-O, and he dropped it, right? And if it was at a Trump rally, that would be huge.
Oh, that would have killed
Nicks, and people would be falling out them seats and all that. And it just,
because it wasn't a political rally. He called the generals and admirals of the U.S. military for a fucking meeting. Can you, Jesus Christ?
It should have been an email. It could have easily been an email.
Oh, it could so easily have been an email. It is just a massive waste of everyone's time and a huge amount of taxpayer money at significant risk to national security in order for Pete Hesgeth to pretend to know anything about being a general or being in charge of a large organization. Seriously, this dude topped out as a captain, he doesn't know how things work at the upper end of militaries. He has never done that.
Oh, it gets better. Because he brought in a special guest to this rally that never was, Donald J. Trump, president of the United States. And again, Donald Trump comes in and the generals and admirals do what they're supposed to do when the commander chief is in the room. They stand to attention and he walks out, and Donald Trump almost immediately says, guys, you can hoot and holler. If you don't like it, you can walk out. You can just,
but there goes your rank.
But he's like, what he was needing was energy from the room, right?
Yes.
He needed that feedback from the room, because he's like, this is one of my rallies. And I'm like, this isn't a fucking rally. These are serious people who have the capacity to kill tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people at the twist of a button. Or the twist of a key or the push of a button. They're not here to be played around with. This isn't, Las Vegas. This isn't some convention, although we are now calling it Gen Con.
Absolutely. It's 100% Gen Con.
But, and the entire event is not only a massive waste of time when the government has now shut down, but also it was this I've had friends contact me from America, and they are terrified at the concept. And this is the serious part of this. When Saddam Hussein came to power in the late 1970s, I believe, I saw this video. He pulled in the entirety of his party, the Ba'ath Party.
The Ba'ath Party, that's right.
Ba'ath Party, right?
Yeah.
And he made a speech, and then he stopped the speech, and then he started calling out people's names in the speech. And if your name was called out, you were asked to leave the room, and then those people were taken out and either put in jail or shot.
Right.
Immediately. And so if you, the idea of calling all these people together at the same time, if I was a general, I would have been a little bit, what is going to happen?
Concerned. You'd have some concerns,
because
it's fair to say.
These are these people, like they want sycophants, and inside that room, I'm sure a general or two are 100% on board of what's going on. But I don't think the entirety of the upper echelons of the American armed forces are on board with what's happening. Because if they were, we would be in a much different place right now. Yeah,
exactly. Like they already would have started executing Democrats if that were the case.
Exactly. So I just think that it's just wild, one, to do that, and two, to waste everybody's time, and three, to complain about people's figure and health, and then have the president of the United States and come out
famously svelte.
It's not even that. We thought he was dead 3 weeks ago. So remember, we thought he was dead like in August, and then he wasn't.
Well, he's. Yeah, exactly. Seriously, this is not a man who is in the peak of health physically or mentally. And we haven't even gotten started on the content of his speech. There are a few things that I think we want to say about that. But before we do, I want to reinforce something that you said about him, because I think it was very perceptive. He needed the energy of the crowd. Yeah. Because one thing everyone has recognized about the speech, and in fact, Steve Bannon was, said this explicitly afterwards. Trump was incredibly low energy.
Yes.
He was talking as if he was just very tired, Yeah. And I don't think that's so much a reflection of his health. I think it's a reflection of the fact that for a lot of performers, right? And I say this as someone who used to be a stage actor. This was something I did back in my misbegotten youth. Yeah. And one thing I absolutely realized very early on in that is that if you can get the audience on side, if you can get them interested, you can feed off of that. And then you give a better performance, which makes them react more, which it's a virtuous cycle, and it's an absolute necessity. Yeah. The worst thing that happens is you walk out to a dead crowd that is just unengaged. Yes. Because then there's no way you're going to be any good up there. So, no. I think this is an indication that Donald Trump is someone who is fundamentally performative. There is no substance to his presidency. It is all it's all image, basically. Oh yeah, it's all signifier and no signified.
There's nothing behind the eyes. There's nothing to talk about. He went out there to rile up generals to get on his side. There was nothing in the speech that was here is our plan for here's a serious plan about what the fuck we're going to be doing for the next 3.5 years. Right.
Yeah. Here's how we're conceiving of national security. Here's what we think the threats are. Here's how we're going to face those threats. This is how we are orienting ourselves going forward. This was instead saying,
what was it saying?
And this is terrifying, saying that American cities would be really good training grounds for the U.S. military. And this is in the context of him putting out a truth saying that he was going to be sending in troops into American cities, and he was authorizing full force.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that term has any explicit legal meaning, but in terms of what I think everyone who hears it understands it to mean is authorizing American soldiers to shed American blood on American soil.
As practice. That was part of it as well. It'll be practice for the other wars, because it's the Department of War. They're going to be in the business of war making.
Exactly.
This is the president for peace, by the way. This is the president of peace.
Exactly. He wants it. Well, of course he does, because words don't mean things, Chris. But yeah, so I do want to point this out, right?
Okay.
If that is what he was suggesting, using the American military to shoot Americans on American soil, then what he is doing is effectively declaring war on America. And I think that at that point, you can start talking about treason. And I say that, and I know that's a big statement. That is a big statement, right? I will back it up with a historical parallel, right?
Okay.
In this country, in the United Kingdom, they had a civil war.
It was a while ago. It was in the 1600s.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So this is Charles I, right?
Yeah.
Now, he goes to war against Parliament. Parliament wins because Chucky is bad at his job. What are you going to do? He gets captured. He gets put on trial, Chris. The king is put on trial. And what is he accused of? Making war against his own people.
Yeah.
Which is treason. And for that, King Charles I loses his head. Now, that was the 1600s. It was a very different time. But I think it is time for us to start asking a serious question. If the United States government is going to start declaring war against its own citizens, at what point is he, as a president, so betrayed his oath of office, so betrayed the Constitution, that he ceases functionally to be a president?
Yeah, that's a hard, I mean, that just becomes semantics. I mean, there's all those big, when he does that, there is a system in place to deal with that. When the president, and I think that he's crossed this line several times over now, that you impeach that president, you remove that person, and you get a new one. Now,
or at the very least, you activate the 25th Amendment,
or you activate
remove him from office, right?
Of course, yeah. There are steps to be taken, but just like with, like I said, America has a very powerful legislature and a very powerful system with very powerful checks. But if you don't actually hit the button, it doesn't matter. It's like if I have a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, but I never get in the car and I never turn the key, it doesn't matter.
Leave it in the garage. You know, can't go very fast if you leave it in the garage.
Exactly. So, and that's what's happening with the American system right now. It's being left in the garage. It's like people are refusing to turn the key, specifically because they think that leaving the car in the garage is the best option to help them get into power. Anyone saying what Trump has said in front of the generals, I think that'd be ball game. But yet here we are. And we know that it's not ball game. And we know that instead, Fox News will be doing everything they can to spin this as, the generals are all on his side. So again, that's about as much as we want to talk about for Gen Con, because I mean, we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out for a number of reasons.
We could keep staring into the void, Chris. But then again, if we do, the void will keep staring back into us.
Yeah, so, listen, the void's been staring back at me for years now.
All right, well, let's avert our eyes and talk about something else that has been quite interesting, which of course has been the shutdown of the United States government.
Yeah,
for like I think 2 days now, right? It's like
we're on day two, and it's only because of illegal immigration. From what I understand from Fox News and certain people on my Facebook feed, if the Democrats needed to use their majorities in both the House and the Senate to pass this legislation to keep the government funded, because the Democrats didn't use their super majorities in the Senate, and 100% there are 435 Democrats in the House of Representatives right now. They just didn't do it, and there's no other reason. There's no other reason that we're in a shutdown right now. It's because the 655,000 Democrats that are in both houses combined.
Exactly.
That's not each house individually, but combined. They just didn't want to work with the poor MAGA party who struggling with their one member.
They're only small beans, Chris.
They're only small beans. They don't have a lot of power in the Senate, in the House, in the United States, or in the judiciary, or in the White House. I mean,
look, all they have, Chris, is a majority in both houses of Congress, the presidency, and a supermajority in the Supreme Court. What are they supposed to do, Chris?
I know it's difficult being them. Difficult being them. If you could tell, we're being a bit facetious.
We are being facetious and facetious. Yeah.
Thank you. You got it out. So I guess the shortest version we can say is this. Like we've talked about government shutdowns before, and this is a continuing resolution thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So like for those of you keeping score at home, the way that funding governments is supposed to work is that in the United States, the House of Representatives comes up with a budget. They pass this budget. The Senate agrees to that budget. It is sent to the White House. The president signs that budget. And then there's money appropriated for a variety of things to keep the government running, basically.
That's correct.
However, for the last several decades in America, that process has only very rarely played out the way that you would think if you were going based on things like law and the Constitution and precedent. Instead, what's happened is that it's become very hard to actually pass budgets. Budgets have gotten much more specific with how money is to be spent. They've gotten much more complex. The budget bills have gotten bigger and bigger. And increasingly, minority parties have been willing to, basically leverage their position where they have it to say, look, we're not going to back this thing unless you give us some concessions on policy, which is one thing if you have a majority and you get everyone voting on side for your bill. But if you get enough defections from your side, well, then you need to pick up some votes from the other side. And that should lead to horse trading. That should lead to concessions. That should lead to negotiation, right? What's interesting here is that the Republicans have a majority in the House, and they put forward a bill with no concessions whatsoever to the Democrats.
Right.
The Democrats are arguing for the concessions basically come down to we need to extend the tax credits for Obamacare, basically, because otherwise the premium that people face on Obamacare is going to spike. And when they do, healthy people are going to drop out of the system. That's going to make the resulting insurance pool much more costly, which will spike premium. Basically, this is the kind of thing that could end health insurance for 50 million people if it's not taken care of.
And I've seen those increases, by the way. One of those increases went from about $300 something like $40 every month, which is also high, to nearly $1,000 a month,
which is not sustainable. Like, no, you just can't pay that, basically, right?
Yeah.
Or not unless you are doing very, very well for yourself, indeed. So this is a huge problem. The Republicans refuse to do that. They are the ones who decided when they passed their the Triple B bill back in the day, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, whatever. Yeah. They're the ones who decided that they just weren't going to touch it. They were just going to let that die out because they don't like Obamacare, and they've been trying to kill it for years.
Oh yeah, because it takes money away from insurance companies.
Well, exactly.
Not much, but it takes money away.
The thing is, that's going to be incredibly unpopular because a whole bunch of people who vote Republican are going to lose their health insurance or pay $1,000 a month for it. And that's, it's a problem. So you think it'd be the kind of thing where the Republicans be willing to deal on this and say, okay, all right, we'll give you that. You sign on to this continuing resolution to keep spending the same amount of money we've been spending on the government, and then we've got a deal. Yeah. And the Republicans have decided, nope, we will not be doing that. Instead, we will offer no concessions, let the government shut down, let the heavens fall, because we think people will blame the Democrats for the shutdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're wrong about that.
I think because, and we should note, the last time the government shut down was under one Donald John Trump.
Yes.
And again, it's always like, so apparently on government websites now, they're saying that this particular department is now shut down because of the radical left. They're doing their best to try to push people into the idea to thinking that the Democrats were the ones who who caused this. And in the Senate, continuing resolutions apparently need 60 votes. Yes. So they need to find 10 people or have enough people to cover that edge.
They need 7 Democrats, I believe.
Which means that if you want people to vote for your stuff, you're going to have to bend a little bit and give them something, because because again, you are the majority and you're most of the votes. And if you need somebody to come to your side, your argument can't be, well, we're the majority, do what we say. This isn't the UK. We're talking about the United States here.
Exactly.
So you have to bend, but if you refuse to bend, it's your fault, because you're the one who's in charge. You're the one who has to be the adult in the room, and that hasn't happened.
And I think we can even go farther than that. Consider this, that the reason why you would need 7 Democrats to vote for this continuing resolution is because of the filibuster. In order to, for those of you playing along at home, to end debate in the Senate and proceed to a full vote, you need not a majority of senators, but 60 out of 100. You got to get 60 votes to end debates and move to an actual vote. And if 41 senators say, nah, we're going to keep this debate going, that's called a filibuster.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the Constitution about that.
No.
This is not a legal provision. This is a rule.
It's a rule. It's a Senate rule. It's a Senate rule.
And you want to know what it takes to change a Senate rule, Chris?
Why don't you tell me? I think I know, but why don't you tell me?
A simple majority.
Yeah, you just need, it's a vote to change the rules of the House or any or any standing
Exactly.
order. It just needs the House to agree that the rule goes away. But it does give power to the minority parties so that they're not just stomped all over during during their term. And that could be a long 6 years if you're not in government, right?
That is
not in the majority.
A very good point, right? You could see why a lot of senators might be interested in preserving the filibuster because, they're not always going to be in power. Someday they're going to be the minority. They're going to want to still have some leverage. And I get the argument.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If the Republicans voted in the Senate to eliminate the filibuster on continuing resolutions, then they could pass their continuing resolution and that would end the government shutdown.
Right.
And they could do this at any time. And they are choosing not to do this.
I'm gonna push back on that one because making these very big change, that would be a huge change to the Senate, and making it to get your thing passed means that what you would have to do in reality is to move to eliminate the filibuster for this moment and then have it come back, because that's how you do it in the UK. You basically suspend the rule
right
for this moment. And then once it's over, it's as if it had never gone away. That's the only way they would do it, because, you're talking about a massive...
they have changed the filibuster this year. They've already changed it in order to pass things that they want to pass. So it's not like this particular Congress is averse to, modifying the rules regarding filibusters. So if they're willing to do it in order to... Yeah, well, but the thing is, if they're willing to say, it used to be the filibuster applied to Supreme Court nominees. And then the Republicans decided, we're tired of the Democrats preventing us from putting crazy people on the Supreme Court. So we're ending that, right?
Yeah.
Or actually, no, I apologize. It was the Democrats who ended the filibuster for their Supreme Court nominees.
Yeah.
Although they weren't putting nutcases on the Supreme Court, in my humble opinion. But yeah, so there has been this weakening of the filibuster over the last 20 years. Because ultimately, you can't run a Senate if everything needs supermajority to pass.
Yeah.
You can't have a legislature that relies entirely on supermajorities. For some things, okay, there's an argument, but for literally everything, and that's what the filibuster has turned into.
I see. Yeah. Okay, so you've used it to create the potential for more power when you need it when you are in the minority. However, now everything requires that much more, and everything that's a portion of gridlock. We can talk about that for hours, but we're not going to, and we have talked about this.
That is not what anyone is listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so we'll put it back down to we'll end this conversation on this right now, because we'll see how it goes. We'll see if it ends. We'll see if they change the rule to get this thing passed. But I think we're going to end on a weird trend that has, at least that I've noticed. Online. And it comes down to two people, Marjorie Taylor Greene and a person whose name I don't know. And I'm probably not going to say, because one of these things is pretty solid and the other one's pretty iffy. Yeah. But they both involve the same phrase, I'm not going to kill myself.
Yeah. I am not suicidal.
I am not suicidal.
I am in good health.
Yeah. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene and this other person, we'll start with the other person first. Over the past couple of days, a person online has made a claim about the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And they said that if you do not appoint, but allow the new representative from Arizona to take her seat.
Yeah, to take her seat, to swear her in so that she can act as a member of the House of Representatives, a seat to which she has been duly elected by a 40-point margin. Yeah. So there's no question that she very much won the hell out of her election, right?
Yeah.
And normally, the most recent special election that happened, a Republican won his seat, and the very next day he was sworn in. So
unofficial results, by the way.
Right, exactly. Whereas, the representative in question here, a Democrat out of Arizona by the name of Grijalva, she has not been sworn in yet. She won her election days ago, and Mike Johnson is saying that they will not be swearing her in until Congress resumes, on the 7th of October. Which is, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why is that a big deal? Also, why the wait? Why not just swear her in? What's the issue here? It's not like this is going to give the Democrats a majority in the House of Representatives. And yet, there is one big reason why Mike Johnson might be averse to actually swearing her in yet. And Chris, would you like to explain what that is to our loyal followers?
Right. So I believe it's the Oversight Committee of the House of Representatives has the power to release the Epstein files, and they require a vote on the floor of the House of Representatives. If they get 218 votes, the motion passes and the files are released.
Yeah, this is what's known as a discharge petition.
A discharge petition. Yes, that's what that is. And we've kind of touched on this a couple of times, but a number of people have died or have resigned or kicked out in the House of Representatives. So there have been special elections. And this person whose name, could you repeat the name again?
So her last name is Grijalva. I'm going to get her first name real quick because I should know that. I am such a fraud.
And so the Representative Grijalva, who is a Democrat and is ready to sign or ready to vote in favor of the motion to be the 218th person, because they have 217, which means there are MAGA Republicans who have signed up to this, which brings us full circle. So Mike Johnson does not want this person to come in because they're going to be able to approve the motion, and then
the 218th vote. Yeah,
and then the files will become public knowledge. And so online, somebody has made a claim that they have compromising information on Mike Johnson, and they are going to release that information in several days unless Michael Johnson allows swears this person and allowing them to take their seat. A few days after that, I think a day later, the same person was on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, social media, and said, I am not suicidal. I am of sound mind. And all of my stuff has been backed up to all these different people. Something has put the fear of God in this person. And they've decided to declare publicly that basically saying that if I turn up dead tomorrow, it's not because I did it myself. Right. Now, another person has done this as well. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Now, she is a member of the House of Representatives, is she not, Chris?
Yeah. Is she in the Freedom Caucus folk?
I think she certainly started off in the Freedom Caucus. I don't know if she got turfed out of the Freedom Caucus more recently.
She was nuts back in the... Sorry, she was nuts. Sorry.
Is nuts, Chris. Please give the woman her due. So so Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is not some internet rando, she's an internet rando who got elected to Congress.
That's correct.
So she, started off being very much like the most pro-Trump of pro-Trump people, very much on the extreme right of the party, of the conspiracist right wing of the party as well.
Not in the Freedom Caucus, by the way.
Oh, she was not in the Freedom Caucus.
No, she's not now. She's not now in the Freedom Caucus.
Oh, okay, yes. And so, no, I thought I remembered her getting, so she got crosswise with them, and that is a story unto itself. But so she sort of came out of the QAnon wing of the party, the conspiracist wing of the party. She very famously blamed wildfires in California on Jewish space lasers.
Yeah.
On satellites controlled by the Rothschilds family. And if the back hairs on the back of your neck that stand up at edge whenever somebody starts saying rancidly anti-Semitic things, if those hairs aren't standing up, I don't know what to tell you about yourself.
Yeah.
So, she's not one of our favorites here at Doctors Not Doctors.
No, she is not.
But she has at the same time been increasingly breaking with Trump and breaking with the right wing over the issue of the Epstein files.
What we say in my office is that she's been on a journey.
That is a lovely way of speaking. She has been on quite the journey.
She's been on a journey, and I think it's important to realize that, a large portion of this core of the MAGA movement are conspiracy theorists. In some way, shape, or form. They believe they came in really, I think a lot of them believed this Jeffrey Epstein thing, and they believed that Democrats, liberals, Hollywood actors were all, complicit in that Donald Trump was a secret agent who was there to infiltrate and dissemble this organization. Yeah.
He was going to be the guy to blow it wide open.
That's right. He was going to be the guy who was going to save the kids, and it was going to end these, people drinking blood and trying to stay alive forever and all that.
Yeah.
And then when the time comes to, prove your point to all of your fans who believe that you are, this superhero of a man who's definitely not in the files, in a serious way, because it's already been proven that he was on the plane, or no, I'm sorry, it was already been proven that he was in the address book, but so many people were. And then they just sits on it. And then the victims of Epstein come to Congress, and in a private closed door session, talk to representatives, and they say, this is what's happened. And they give them detailed accounts. And, Nancy Mace went crying out of there. And from almost the very beginning of when Trump started saying, or MAGA started saying, not release the files, she was like, no, this is bullshit. You have to release the files. Even to the point where she went up to, I forget whose office it was, but she took that crude drawing of a woman's body that Trump did for Epstein and put it up outside someone's office.
I mean, fair.
And so she's clearly been on a journey, and she is now voted to, I believe she's obviously one of the people who was voted to
she signed the discharge petition.
She signed the discharge petition, which means that she is no longer 100% focused on keeping Trump in power.
Right. There's something that's more important to her than that, and it is releasing the Epstein files. Yeah. And it's entirely possible that she, as far as she's concerned, what matters here is that there are Democrats in there and they need to be exposed. And if that means exposing Republicans as well, so be it. Yeah. And I will say that is a far, far more respectable position to take, as partisan as it may be, than the position that says, well, there may be some people of my party in there, so we shouldn't release anybody. Yeah. Like, if you got to pick a side on that, the only reasonable side is, oh no, if there are people committing horrible crimes against children and we know who they are, we should probably know who they are. Like, exactly. I think that's, yeah. And that thing that she put up, I think is outside of her office. This is when people are saying that the picture wasn't Donald Trump and the signature wasn't him. And then she was putting up comparison signatures of Donald Trump outside of probably her office, saying, obviously this is the same guy. He was in this book. This is a problem. We need to deal with it. So it is, I guess, concerning when she basically puts out one of these "I'm not suicidal" messages. Yeah. Like, why do you think you need to do that? And I think we'll close on this discussion. Like, do you think it's serious, or do you think that it's just I want some attention? Because I'm veering towards like these people. I just feel that there's probably a little bit more that you're not being told. I mean, think about the damage that she's doing to the party. I mean, from a purely political sense, right? Like, they need people like her. They need people to keep the conspiracy theories alive, keep people always on edge. There's now a Jubilee, and I know Jubilee 20s versus ones are now a bit on, like, don't touch them. Well, since they had here's Hedi Hassan versus 20 Nazis. And everyone realized, oh, wait, no, that's just an excuse to have 20 Nazis threaten a man.
It was 17, and three of them were okay.
Oh, okay.
Three of them were okay. Right. I will stand up for the three people who clearly did not know what group they were in.
Hooray! 3 non-Nazis. That's something.
But these conspiracy theorists, they're very strong in their Dunning-Krugerness. And she's somebody who keeps them on board. If she isn't participating in the game, I can see people being upset with that, and it's weird for her to put this out there. I think, it's peak conspiracy theory, though. That's the problem. It's peak conspiracy theory.
And this is the thing. Given the choice between, this is an expression of her conspiracy mongering nonsense in general, and this is a legitimate statement of concern regarding her physical safety and the potential for, like, accidents to happen that aren't accidents. Wink, wink. I think the Occam's razor says this is probably an outgrowth of a conspiratorial mindset combined with, this is a stressful situation, and she is acting against Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is a scary man who is perfectly happy to kill people and has killed multiple people in the Caribbean now. He's ordered murder, murder has happened.
This is the bombing of Venezuelans who the Trump through Trump and the DOD are saying that they were drug dealers, but with no proof, and we don't know
legal justification whatsoever. And if you kill someone without a legal justification, that is what murder is.
Yeah.
You know? So Donald Trump has ordered murder. Murder has happened. So if you're, already of a conspiratorial mindset and you think you might be crosswise with such a man, I wouldn't be surprised if that would come out as, saying, I'm not suicidal. I'm in good health. If anything happens to me, you can draw your own conclusions. Also, that they might murder me. And I hope that that's what this is. But, I'm not. I'm too close to the edge of tipping over to, no, she has legitimate reasons to worry that the government could be used to murder its political opponent, Trump's political opponents, and that she might be considered one of them. Like, I'm not far enough away from that side of the divide for comfort, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing, and maybe we don't talk about it again. Maybe it pops up, but we'll keep our eyes on it as we try to do. And as always, there's so many things that we could have talked about. We just didn't have the time. We don't have 3 hours. We try to keep it under 90 minutes.
We could have talked about the fact that neither of us are suicidal, and that we are both in the peak of health. So, just putting that out there.
There's other things we could have talked about, such, for example, that the United States has seemingly bailed out Argentina because neoliberal economics has totally failed to do what everybody knew that it couldn't. And Lisa Cook,
she's a commissioner on the Federal Reserve. The Supreme Court has decided not to let Trump violate the law this time because it affects money. Weirdly enough.
Exactly. Like I said, don't mess with money. Exactly. And and we'll probably have a mini episode if we're up to it on.
Oh, I think we can have a short on these things. Absolutely.
On a weird thing that's Democrats are polling badly but winning, and individual Democrats are doing very well. So there's a lot to talk about, and we will try to cover as much as we can. But thanks for listening. And as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
We are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.